I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Toni Forrester, CEO of Letterkenny Chamber, and Tony's going to speak about Shop LK and another case study. Thank you.
I'm just going to say I haven't used one of these for a while. There we go. Thanks for having me today. It's great. I think Ria and Nicole have kind of covered a whole lot of the mechanics of a gift card system, and I was asked to talk about our case study in a way. So I'm going to take us back a little bit. But for anyone, just before I start, anyone who hasn't visited Letterkenny, and shame on you really, but anyway, or the lovely Donegal, we're the largest urban area in the county, and again, it's a huge county. The town has a population of over 20,000, but it kind of mushrooms every day with about the same level of people coming in for work and education. So it's kind of, it's the big draw for the whole region. We now have an Atlantic Technological University, and last year LYIT, which had 5,000 students. So that's only going to grow. Letterkenny's kind of feels like a city to a certain extent. We have a big town boundary. It includes, so we have a traditional main street, we have a shopping centre, and we have retail parks. They're all within walking distance. It's a bit of a strange kind of place. Glyn talked about out of town. Our out of town is in town. If we could just convince people that they could walk between them, we believe they can, but just getting them out of their car to a certain extent. Letterkenny has all the large recognisable retail, and it's changed a lot in the last, I've been there 14 years, and it hit the recession, but all the large names came in with I want a Zara, but nobody can get me a Zara yet, but we'll get there eventually. But we have funny things like 2 Aldis, 2 Duns, and 2 Lidls. It's a bizarre kind of phenomenon, but we love it as well at the same time. So it's very shopping. It's we call it the shopping centre of the county, and it's got all the facilities and feel of a small city. And that's our Polestar roundabout. That little photograph was taken during COVID, or when we were trying to get back COVID, and we did lots of these kind of photographs. As well as, I suppose, all the big names, we have a lot of independent outlets, and they're based everywhere. People say to us, but they're all on the main street, and actually they're not. They're in the retail parks, they're in the shopping centres. So it's a kind of one of those diverse towns. You kind of have to deal with everyone in. And one of the things when we started the scheme way back was we never excluded anyone. So the large companies, the UK multiples, were all part of the scheme. There we go. This is where it all started. Shop LK. We never changed the name. Love shopping Letterkenny. The brand came about to replace this thing called a shopping spree, and I think it was held in November, and a big banner went up across the main street, and it was like a festival of shopping. It was before my time. Letterkenny Chamber in 2004 wanted to move away from the shopping spree idea, I suppose become more modern, and created this byline of supporting local shopping and protecting local jobs. And I think all our speakers have mentioned that. We get money circulating in our town, we use it in the town. It creates a job, a full-time job maybe for somebody, but a casual job for somebody's child. And that really drives the thing, and the money just hopefully keeps going around. The brand then, and all its iterations since, and you'll see this when I have some other pictures coming up, have the objective of supporting local. And I suppose supporting local's come into its own in the last while, but we were doing it, and we weren't the only ones, I'm sure, but we were doing it when it wasn't talked about, when nobody really was mentioning it. And we had it was back to this creating jobs all the time. And it was very boring, I have to say. It was a pretty boring brand. Red and black, I wouldn't say, would really appeal to any shoppers these days. But it was created when we had very little money, and I think probably done out of the goodness of somebody's heart at the time. We had seasonal campaigns. There was no voucher at this stage. Seasonal campaigns around home DIY and ladies' fashion and things like that. We showcased members. We advertised only in the local paper because that's all you did then. And we ran competitions. It was always the intention to add a voucher. And they did it quite quickly, I have to give them credit, in 2006. And all of this was a bit of a leap of faith for a Chamber of Commerce who kind of just were there doing what a Chamber of Commerce does. So this was our first Shop LK voucher. We started with 30 outlets, And in our first year, we sold 50,000, which is a bit of a miracle. I'm not quite sure how they did it. So it was this little paper thing with a stub, and you had to write the date on it. We had to stamp it, and then people came in and bought it. In 2007 and 8, we increased our sales by 128% and grew to 50 outlets. So it was a bit like Noelle said, once the retailers realised it wasn't that difficult, you know, the chamber were always going to give us the money back, because at that time we had to give them real money back, and they had to come into us. They started to say, oh yeah, that might work. So by 2009, I joined the chamber in 2008. 2009 we were up to 110 outlets and 360,000 was our sales that year. I will go back to early 2008. I remember the chamber would have put an ad in the paper in January to say thank you to all our retailers, and they were able to fit on a page or an ad in the paper at one stage, and that changed dramatically, I think. Part of it was in the recession. So in 2009 we were getting into the grip of the recession. Obviously it had already started, but retailers started to feel it a little bit more. So as businesses saw their turnover reduced dramatically, ours went up. And that was, an awful lot of that was to do with the fact that businesses were closing. So somebody bought a gift card or a gift voucher in a shop, in a retail outlet, and it disappeared, and they lost their money. So they started saying, so the general public started to get this. Before, a lot of our sales were corporate. The general public started to say, oh, if I buy it there, at least I have it for a year and I can use it. And we went up to 150 outlets in 2010. Sorry, no, we got lost here, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So 2010 we had 150 outlets. 2011 our sales went up again. And 2014 we moved up to 160. And our sales were 850,000. And this is where we changed. So we changed, already rebranded, with the goodness of a company who did it free for us at the time, because we still weren't making a huge pile of money at this stage. And we came up with, we put pink for the first time into our logo. One of my board members nearly freaked out, you know, because he was a man and the pink was just too much for him. And there was women on stuff and all of this kind of stuff, but we really just started to change things, and we've never really, we've still got some of those colours there, and we never really looked back from that rebranding. And during that time, we brought on Emma, who's now a lot older than that. We brought on an intern at the time, and we started trying things out. We did events. We had a cake there for a celebration in our office. We realised printing out the Shop LK logo and everything and carrying it around with us got a whole lot of traction. So we celebrated every event we could. And then our urban council, partly in recognition of the fact they wanted to put up rates, said, do you want some money? And we said, of course, we'd love it. They put up rates, tiny amount that year, or maybe kept it stable even, but they haven't stopped helping us fund this. And our job around it is to animate retail, I suppose, and to promote Letterkenny as a retail destination. So we, this kind of time was a kind of game changer for us. You know, it just changed the whole look of it and feel of it, and it obviously paid rewards. But I have to say, the paper was an administrative nightmare. So we had the security issues. So if you think of, we moved up to selling 850,000 worth. We had to put those into envelopes. We had to stamp them with our embossed stamp. We had to write a date on them, and we had to actually double stamp them. They had a hologram on them. We worried about somebody breaking into the office. We worried about the office burning down. We worried about every single thing. So it was a bit of a panic especially at Christmas when we had so many. And in January, one of our corporate companies, they buy, well, at the time they were only allowed to give 250 a year. So they would have given every one of their employees €250. So if you think of paper, we had to put all of those in an envelope and get them all ready and then deliver them to companies. So that was probably about 850 people at the time. So it was a bit, so we knew then, let's move on, and we had no idea, a bit like Noelle said, no idea how we were going to do this electronic gift card. but we started looking and seeing if we could do something with it. So 2015, we went electronic. It was a bit of a journey. I'm with Noel in that we got our till system and the cards after all our work in November. And we had to all take a very deep breath and hope for the best, because we were moving completely differently. People walking into the office to buy cards, or to buy gift vouchers. Can I have, 4 by 50 or 4 by 20? And well, they're cards now. Oh, right, okay. So there's an awful lot of education going on there. But it was, it was the best thing I've ever done. I suppose the best thing we've ever done in the Chamber, moving to our gift card. We had to get our retailers up to speed. We rebranded again, so we have the same as Enniskillen. We have a branded card. We have a wallet. We now have a choice of wallets. So we have thank you. We have birthday, congratulations now. But we spent a lot of time educating customers, educating our outlets. It's a MasterCard. It's the same thing. You just and there's no point making through the mechanics. You just swipe it. But businesses were a bit reluctant, thinking it was going to cost them more money and all of that kind of thing. But we increased our outlets and we increased sales. So we never really looked back, and we then actually had slightly more time, not much, but slightly more time to do other things as well. So these are kind of, I suppose between 2015 and 2019, it was about the brand. It was about what we did with the brand and how we animated the main street. So we ran at the bottom here, you can see a Christmas wallet. So that's an art competition we run every year to get children in national schools to come up with designs. They always have to include Letterkenny in it, and we get some brilliant feedback for that. And the person who wins gets to turn on the Christmas lights. So everybody loves that. We use our Shop LK to promote, at one stage it was Love Sterling. I can't even remember when that was now. But we've moved, our brand, if you can see, has moved. It's still the basics there, but it's moved into, here's Letterkenny, come and shop with us. So while the card's used a lot for citizens or people who know Letterkenny, the actual brand is used to promote the town as a whole. We did a Go Green project, which is a reusable cup project that we have, and we did that along with Letterkenny Tidy Towns. So one of the things, because the brand is so recognisable now within Letterkenny and Donegal, people come and say, we partner with that, or will you help us sponsor something, or can you come along with us because it's a good, strong brand. And we've seen the real benefit of that. So Tidy Towns work with us, local community organisations, and I think it was, I'm not sure it was Rhea or Noel said, it must be Noel, recently we've had, I won't say asylum seekers, refugees, in our direct provision centre, and they're giving them gift cards. And we also have our St Vincent de Paul Society are giving out a huge amount of gift cards to people. And I suppose it's back to the dignity. They're given something that they can use in any shop, and they don't have to say why they have it. And then we were able to secure a pop-up shop. I think that's in the next one. So this is some of our photographs. We are never, ever off the street doing photographs. If I'm honest, probably, I don't know if it's too many, but they say you can never do too many. Every milestone, sorry, I've lost my page. Every milestone that we have, so that was 1.5 million. We get everybody out in the street, we talk about it, we take a photograph. I have that many signs now, I don't know how I'm going to repurpose them. That was our Go Green project, so we did some work with coffee shops who'd take our cards. And really it's about trying to be as inventive as possible. We have our social channels, and we just do anything we can. These are some of our events. Because of Shop LK, we were able to run because of their funding from the council as much as anything else, we were able to run a Halloween festival. Letterkenny never did that before. Our friends in Derry have a huge Halloween festival. It's massive, it's amazing. Ours is a small one with, 800 kids come along. We do trick-or-treating in the street. We have a ball, and it's for wee ones. We kids love it. We have a busking festival every summer now. Again, small Shop LK, and that just brings people onto the street. And every single thing that we try and do is about bringing people into town, getting them to shop and getting them to recognise the brand. So the COVID years, I suppose the brand to a certain extent went back a wee bit to supporting local businesses. We all know, and I think Glenn mentioned this earlier on, your ordinary shop on your local corner, they were doing so much for our communities at the time, you know, and they were very strict in the south of Ireland about where you could go and where you couldn't go. So we went a wee bit back to supporting local business. So this has to be Letterkenny. Was born during COVID. This is our new hashtag. And we took that out, and anybody who was reopening, who wanted a wee bit of publicity, we covered that for them. We had obviously limited sales opportunities during that time, so we were closed. And we sell, the vouchers are sold in our in our Chamber of Commerce and in one other outlet. But interestingly enough, sales went up. I was at home taking calls from corporates saying, I need to buy, and we would go into the office and do those for people. Charities were looking for things to give out to people, and we just tried our best to do it. But when we got to open, then again it went nuts. So I think we were allowed to open, sometime in November, December, and we really only were open for a few weeks, and it went a bit doolally, I'll put it like that. Our corporate sales have held strong the whole time, and they only ever increase. We only ever get new businesses coming into us every Christmas then. I didn't know about the fact that you could give 500 to an employee. Why don't you tell anybody? So, well, everybody else knows. So, and they come along and they buy them. So directors of companies come in and they buy them for each other and things like that. So we did all this reopening campaign. That's just some of during COVID, we moved our advertising a little bit, as I said, to support local. So we had, when people were only allowed to be online, we put a list up of the companies who were online. Click and collect, we did a bit of that. We had a video for that as well. And then at Christmas, we brought out that people need your support. And we've kept that this year as well, just, remember your local company, remember your local shop. And they do, and it's really interesting to see people supporting that. So where we are now, in 2021, we made the 3 million mark in our sales, just over 3 million. It was a real milestone for us. I keep adding up where we are really in total since 2006, but I'm not quite sure, so I think it's somewhere around 12 million, I'm not sure. But the 3 million was huge for us. And again, that was COVID and all of that. We have 230 outlets. We have a permanent second sales outlet. So one of our members, chamber members, and Shop LK members came and said he'd lent us his thing for a pop-up Christmas shop, an outlet that he wasn't using. And then he said, I can sell for you. So he's a local bookshop stroke stationer. And it's working for him because it gets people into his shop as well. We're hoping to get a second one, but we haven't quite convinced him yet. And that works really well because people don't want to come to the office because they might have to park somewhere. So that's working fabulously for us. And again, we always thought there's only 20,000 people in Letterkenny. We must all know about it by now. But actually still people come along and say, these are brilliant cards. Can I buy some? But I suppose what we've created, and this came up in both the other presentations, we've created a strong brand that we're very proud of. But we've created a strong community. I think our retailers are now more, I remember when I first started, they were a bit, what does the Chamber do? What is Shop LK about? But now we've got this brand that they love. They get the information from us all the time about how many they've taken in, and they see it being used by other people, and they've created a community in themselves. We have, during COVID, a WhatsApp group for our retailers as well to share information, and that was really powerful. And they're now, I think, more supportive of each other than they ever were. And they're realising that if there's two clothes shops or two men's clothes shops in the main street, that's good because that brings footfall. So we'll just keep on going with our brand and hope for the best. So I just want to finish with this. This is just our one of the things we're using at the moment for some of our branding. And just to say, we may have changed the brand over the years. It's evolved, it's changed colour. much to some people. Some people don't like it, but we do. So, but at the heart of everything, visit Letterkenny for the best shopping, leisure and value in the Northwest. That's the message we always want to give out. So for citizens, for people come to visit, that's what we want to do. So if you ever want to come up to Letterkenny and you want to come and visit or talk about our gift card system, I'm really happy to help. Thank you very much, everyone.